Hello again. In chapter 2, we will discuss AWS architecture and design principles. As part of the architecture and design principles, we will talk about the governing principles of the data and AWS well-architected framework. These two topics are very critical, especially if you are wanting to become an AWS architect or a design engineer or a program manager, even for some of the salespeople, because unless you fully understand what AWS offers, it's very difficult to make your sale. So with that, let's get into the governing principles of the data first. This is going to be very interesting chapter, and I think I suggest you listen to this podcast or this video recording carefully, because in any organizations where you are going to be working, the first question that comes in people's mind is, how my data is going to be secure in cloud. And that's where a lot of senior executives are very concerned about moving their data into cloud. And this has been an ongoing concern, especially with the given cybersecurity. So I think what you see on this table is really set of drivers, and these set of drivers define your possible outcomes. So, for example, if your driver is to govern your access into the data, then your principle should state that the data access to the data in the cloud should only be controlled via application and via appropriate role controls. That way, you have an appropriate outcome in terms of the security and the governance of the data, right? How do you secure your data? The second driver is then the security of the data is really through encrypting the data at transit as well as at rest, right? So outcome of that is really to mitigate unauthorized access to the production database. Similarly, if one of the driver is to ensure single source of truth, and this is becoming a lot more critical nowadays, is how do I ensure the data that I'm using for my analytical purposes has come from the not a duplicate data or data that has been changed, but it's coming from the true single source of truth, right? And this is the principle. If that's the driver, the principle is that how do you ensure the cross-account access is handled through the appropriate APIs and the data has been stored accordingly. So similarly, let's jump on to couple of them, and let's talk about retention schedule. If this as the volume of the data is significantly increasing, you want to make sure that the data that you are storing in the cloud has appropriate retention schedule, right? For example, if the data that needs to be for legal and compliance purposes, you want to make sure it is stored for 7 years. But if it's more of a transactional data, you don't need to hold it. Just to give you an example, if someone is browsing your website and that data is only useful for a period while the user is there on the website to understand his purchasing behavior, you really don't need to store the data for long-term nature, because his purchasing behaviors will change. So these are some of the things that that as an architect you should talk to your client, or you should think internally before designing a project, because the governing principles are very critical. With that, we will move on to something very equally important. This is called AWS well-architected framework. AWS has been very strong about saying that anytime you design AWS solutions architect, you should adhere to these 5 pillars or principles or whatever you want to call them, right? I remember them simply like SRPOC, senior POC, right? SRPOC. And S stands for the security, R stands for the reliability, P stands for the performance, C stands for the cost, and O is operational optimization, right? All these 5 principles are critical. In any interview, even if you're not asked what are the design principles, you should talk about these 5 principles at length, just to show your knowledge and that you fully understand how AWS architectures are designed, right? Security, start with the security first. Security could be controlled through IAM, multi-factor authentication. Within the security, you have detective controls, you have preventive controls. Detective controls, let's talk about the preventive controls first. Preventive controls are really the network level VPC in subnets, security groups. Detective controls are really your CloudTrail, Configuration Guard Duty, something that keep in mind. Again, make sure you understand what is a detective control versus preventive controls. Then you want to talk about the reliability. AWS is a multi-AZ. Within the Northeast, there are 5 or 6 different availability zones. So you want to talk about how your architecture is going to be reliable should one availability zone goes down. That becomes very important. So talk about reliability. The performance is becoming very, especially in the serverless architecture, performance has becoming very critical. But again, given the nature of auto scaling of AWS serverless architecture, when you talk about performance, talk about the serverless architecture, because that gives you an ability to auto scale horizontally. Generally avoid speaking about auto scaling vertically, because vertically means one large fat server versus horizontally distributed environment. So focus more around horizontal scaling. The cost optimization. Remember, AWS is really, when you think about OpEx versus CapEx, AWS monthly cost is really your OpEx. It's no longer a CapEx. CapEx is really something that you purchase one and you depreciate over a period of time. But OpEx is like your Netflix monthly bill. You have to pay every month. So the more you use, the more you pay. But the more you abuse it, the more you pay. So you have to be very careful with what you use it for, and make sure you are using the number of instances that you need. Avoid using provisioned servers such as EC2 or provision RDS. They are really the killer of the cost. Use as much as possible serverless architecture. And then obviously the last one is operational excellence. How do you make sure your infrastructure is running smoothly? And if you're not using certain servers, you can through terraforming you can decommission those servers. So it's a very big chapter in itself. I just wanted to give you a preview. This is bound to come up in your interview discussion, so be prepared to talk about this thing. And there is one more slide that I want to talk to you before we finish this chapter. It's called database migration versus application migration. It's another very tricky discussion point. When customer talks about AWS cloud journey, they don't really clearly differentiate between whether they're talking about database or application. But as a trusted advisor or as a AWS person, you should talk to them about how do you want to migrate your applications, right? But remember, migrating applications are always easier because applications are stateless. You can simply shift your application from on-prem to cloud. But remember, the database are stateful. That means data maintains the state of your application. So to migrate the database, it's a lot more dedicated efforts, especially a lot of historical data, and to synchronize in production. So you need to fully understand, what you're talking about database migration, application migration. You're talking about both. And in the future chapters, we will talk about both these separately. We'll talk about first database migration, and then we'll talk about application migration. So with that, we will end this chapter, and I'll see you again on chapter 4. Thank you.